Hi, I'm Sai and welcome to my video channel called Nugget of Wisdom. I've just been cleaning up and stuff and I just had to stop and do another video. And I think it's wonderful when I just get inspired to do it, that I'm not trying to plan anything. I've got any agenda in my head or a script, nothing. I just go, I've got to speak now. I've got to speak my truth. And speaking our truth is the greatest gift you can possibly have. If you can do it from a completely authentic place. Not from ego, not from anger, not from frustration, not from any kind of desire to convince anybody. None of that. You just want to speak your truth. And what I want to talk about and what I want to speak about is love and freedom. Because it's so relevant to the world and what's going on in the world today. And I always want to bring in the relevance of what's going on today. So if you look at love, the first thing, and very legitimately somebody will say, is what is love? And I've done a video on what is love, and you'll see that my perception of what love is basically love is being. Love is being in the flow. Love is just being love. It's hard to explain, but you know what it is when you really think about it. The times in your life when you've been lying in the grass, the sun has been shining, you've heard the sound of the birds, your mother was plaiting your hair, you feel that the moment your first child was born, and these tears of joy that come out of you, in the flow of creativity, creating, making love, and the passion of making genuine, beautiful, authentic love to the world, to your partner, rubbing a dog, just watching the sun rise and set. But that's, to me, pure love. On the other side, what is freedom? Well, freedom is this idea that as an individual, I can decide what I want to do in my life, my destiny, where I'm going, what I want to be, how I want to act, what things I want to have in my life, what experiences I want for myself. That I have a freedom to make changes in my life and to manifest things because I'm an individual. And the two of those things are they're like polarities. Like everything in this world, there's a duality. And basically, they're kind of opposite sides of a coin. Because love is unity. Love is pure unity. Love is unity. And we all know this deeply. Love is this undescribable feeling of unity. Unity with everything, with nature, with oneness with everything. And I believe from everything I've read and experienced that when we pass, we just become everything. We become one. And when we're born, when we come out of the womb, we're separated. And we go off into these individuated personas, these bodies of ours with their personas, and we take on this separation. And you can totally get this world. It's an incredible experience. Imagine if you were a oneness and you knew everything and you could experience everything as a oneness. Well, you might like to just go, do you know what? I'm going to filter it all down and I'm going to become an individual. I'm going to be able to perceive and look at other things. I'm going to have these senses they can experience. And then I'm going to create stories of love and hatred and war and sadness and all sorts. And this is the world we live in. And there's a hack that you can do. I call it a hack because it's a game. I truly believe this world is a big game. There's a phenomenal intelligence clearly behind it all. If you look at science has tried desperately for years to say, oh, it's all an accident. It's just sort of, flip of a coin, flip of a dice. It's all just Darwin's theory of evolution and so on. It's all words meat machines. But they're not succeeding, because the more they do that, and the more technology advances, the more they realize there's more and more and more layers. Just look at the James Webb Telescope, this amazing telescope in space, and what it's discovering. And the fine-tuning of the universe, and how, scientists who've looked at it know that it's highly, highly, highly unlikely that this universe and this world that we're in could just be an accident. And even if you have the hypothesis that it's an accident, you haven't got any scientific validity to any of it, or proof. The more you try to find the answer that it's an accident, the more you get bogged down in non-scientific arguments, like, for example, the many worlds idea that there are infinite universes out there, and they're all just doing slightly different things, and this is just one of them, and it's just one of it. I'm just one of infinite numbers of Simons who are all doing slightly different things. So therefore, it's all kind of just probability in an accident. There's no intelligence to it. Well, that argument makes me feel and sound nuts, but that's a scientific argument. The Big Bang, right? Which they're discovering now. Was it the Big Bang? And these are quite religious ideas, but they get stuck. So you have this sort of crazy love and beingness versus freedom. And there's a raging argument of freedom. Have we free will? Have human beings got free will? Freedom is another word that we've created that sort of, in a very egotistical way, tries to give us all the impression we're individuals and we can do what we like. But we all know, again, deep within, we can't do what we like. I've never actually seen the back of my head, unless I use a mirror or something else. I can't go for more than a few hours without needing to go to the loo or to eat. I have to sleep. I didn't choose my name. I didn't choose where I was born. I mean, you could just go on and on. A lot of the decisions that I'm making all the time are pretty likely, and I feel it, to be based on a lot of sort of circumstantial things or experiential things that I've had. I'm not eating with chopsticks because I wasn't born in a place where they eat with chopsticks. I'm eating with spoons and forks and things. Was that a choice I made? No. So you can get bogged down in freedom, and then what happens to us is, on these extremes, we get dogmas and stories that say, okay, you are free. You're a consumer. You have the freedom to buy, to purchase, to experience what you want. Do it, because this is a one-hit wonder. Life is short. Consume as much as you can. Don't care about anybody else. In reality, to be honest, you're just a meat machine. AI is going to take over the world. Human beings aren't very special. The universe is a huge place. Life's a bitch. On and on and on. And in many ways, that's a sort of narrative coming from the US. And I don't mean the people of the US, I mean the US media machine. Except it throws in lots of sort of very tribalistic religious ideas. There's a God up there, and if you don't do the things you're supposed to do, you're in trouble. He's an angry God. He will make you suffer unless you work hard, play hard. Also, there's an ego to it all. When we take on these ideas, we are fighting for freedom, and we will go around the world and we'll tell the world what they should have. And our idea of freedom is the freedom that everybody has to have. So we will go into that country and we'll say, if you don't follow what we want, if you're either with us or against us, because we believe in this idea of our freedom and what freedom is. And they will go around and they will convert the world to what they want. But at the same time, America is the leader when it comes to miracles. A miracle of science, credible technological advances, enough technological advances to feed the world, to prolong life, to make our lives so much better. And that so-called freedom gives people this amazing ability to go out and innovate and do things. Unfortunately, when the needle swings too much in that direction, freedom turns into a nightmare. Because if everybody's free to do what the hell they want in a group, then it means other people can't have freedom, because you go in and you say, no, you're not doing the way we want you to do it. You have to do it like us. Oh, and all that technology we're developing, actually, we want to use it in this way to suit ourselves because we're free. And we don't care about the effect on other people, whether it's slave labor or the climate or pollution or just greed and consumption and starvation and exploitation of people with labor and use of materials in a terrible way that causes toxic problems, or it goes on food that's just junk but is no good for our health. That freedom, when the pendulum goes too much that way, turns into a nightmare. And you can see this in the world. Just the examples of today. Look at the interference from the US around the world that we're beginning to all see. It's so obvious it's untrue. Julian Assange, a guy in prison for years without actually any proper charges, because he just as a journalist exposed all sorts of horrendous things that the US government and military were doing. At the same time, the US goes out and absolutely, the top political people, lambast in a really personalized way the president of Russia because an opposition leader has died. Hypocrisy beyond belief. $700 people tragically dying. So it's people, I mean children, dying in the war in Ukraine. 700 children. Where are those figures from? The UN. Are they wrong or right? Who knows? But that's what the UN says. Over 17,000 children killed in Gaza. So hold on a sec. Why isn't that the other way around? Why isn't it 70,000 in Ukraine and 700 in Gaza? Demonizing Russia. Calling for the arrest of the president of Russia. So he can't leave the country because he's going to be arrested for crimes against children. Senior people, Vice President, President, Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, all out there. Look at Gaza. Factually, again reported by the UN, but by numerous independent sources. Horrendous killing of innocent people. Starvation. Millions of people having to flee. And what's the response from the same people that are jumping up and down about the death of the opposition leader in Russia? No response. Just look at the number of amateur videos of ordinary Americans asking their senators and governors questions, hanging out outside meetings where senior people, Clinton and others, are, Biden and so on. And these people just don't want to know. A court that has, a UN court that has clearly adjudicated that there's something to these charges against Israel and need to be investigated. Completely ignored. The hypocrisy is incredible. And the problem we have is, if you can't see the hypocrisy, that's just a few examples. I could ramble on for hours. If you can't see the examples of this hypocrisy, then I have to say you are absolutely stupid. And I can't see that people in this country, in the US, in Europe, are stupid. I can't see it because I see them coming out and protesting. I see them asking questions. I know from the experience of living with them that most people are pretty intelligent. They read books, they watch the news, they know how to do things. They've got important jobs that require lots. Can't be stupid. So you're not stupid. Then what you are is you're complicit in atrocious crimes, and you're complicit in propaganda, unless you can say, oh gosh, I didn't know, now I see it, and I'm having nothing to do with this. And that's where I find myself. I'm not stupid, and I'm not being party to crimes against the most vulnerable people in our world. Young people, children, mothers. And also, I'm not going to just swallow complete and utter lies and propaganda, which is so insulting to my intelligence. But on top of that, I'm not going to fall into the trap of being tribal and saying, oh, it's all of them. We need to fight. They're disgraceful. They're evil. They're bad. I'm not going to do any of that because they're not evil. If you look at what's happening in Israel, nothing anyone does to try to stigmatize Israeli people as evil will help those people who are being killed in Gaza. All it does is it allows us to vent our own pedestalized egos. Look, I'm the good one and they're the bad one. It won't work. What's going on in Israel? Every single time I see a reporter talk about the Israeli situation, and an Israeli, they bring in the war, they bring in the Nazis, they bring in Hitler, they bring in anti-Semitism. They're a traumatized people who are living in fear with generations and generations of very sad events that have occurred, tragic events that have occurred in their lives, who have gone off the rails, basically. They've got the red mist. They've turned into the very thing they're so desperate not to be. The same thing with the US. The US, in its desperation to try and change the world and create a world that reflects democracy, has no clue what democracy is anymore. America doesn't have a democracy, it's a shamocracy. If you're a postman or a nurse or a policeman or a road sweeper or a carpenter, have you seriously got the $10 million minimum you need for your campaign to be a governor or a senator? And if you get that money, are you going to be able to just get that money and take it off somebody and go, yeah, I'm not going to do any favours? The whole political system in the US is completely corrupted by financial interest. It's obvious. Right down to the military industrial complex, where, the madness of it all is that a war could happen just because companies need to sell weapons to make money so they can get money for their shareholders, for their executives, to make profit. Off the rails. So that amazing beauty of technology, of the miracles of technology, of the things that we've learned to do, the gifts that we've been given, it's gone too far. And it's gone too far because people's egos and their traumas that have built those egos from their lives, from their generational history, have totally and utterly blinded them into an egomania that turns them into warmongers because they live their lives in fear, not in love, fear. And then you have the other side, which is really fascinating. The other side is the spiritual, the people who can be in love. They can they can enjoy very little. They can enjoy sitting under the tree like the Buddha, under the Bodhi tree, and they can be in the flow, and they can become love. And then what do? They say, nothing matters. I'm going to sit underneath this tree, and I don't care what happens around me. I don't care about it's a game. It's Maya. None of it matters. It's all basically just a trick. It's an illusion. And anybody who tries or does or doings, it's all ego. Anybody who tries to change anything, it's all ego. There's no need to change anything. It's all perfect. That's like playing a racing car game and going, it's just a game, so I'm not going to race the car. It's just a game, so I'm not going to play this level because it's just a game. You can know a game is a game and you can still play. You play a game of chess, it means nothing. That's not an army. Those pawns aren't real soldiers. It's not a real queen. Do you see people sitting there going, it's just a game, it doesn't matter? No, they played a game. So you can go this way with the spirituality and become a spiritual narcissist. Oh, I meditate, I do yoga, I'm enlightened, I'm transcending. I am ego. Ego has sabotaged spirituality. But the most interesting thing here is that, like the two sides of your brain, the intellectual and the intuitive, both should be working in harmony together. We live in a material world. Whether material is an illusion or not illusion, it's here in this game. Even if my car in the game is pixels, it's still my car. If I turn the steering wheel in the wrong direction, I'm going to crash into the barrier and I'm out of the game. Does it matter that everything in that game is pixels? No. We're in a game here. And it doesn't really matter what that game is made of or how it's constructed. It's interesting, but it actually really doesn't matter. We're here. We're in this theme park. And whether you believe that material or matter is real or it's just an illusion, the reality is we're in it, and when we touch and sense and feel, it makes a difference. And all of these sensations, all of these abilities we have, they're here for a reason. And the reason is for us to experience. And what is experience? Experience is in being in the flow, being creative, making things, inventing things, coming up with incredible technological advantages, sitting under the tree in the flow, enjoying the sunrise, appreciating that we're all brothers and sisters. It's a unity. All of our technological advances can be turned to do the most incredibly amazing, good, positive things. And our spiritual teachers have got so much wisdom. There are books from thousands of years ago that are so relevant to us now. Mystical Christianity, Sufis, Rosicrucians, I can't say that word properly. Mystical Judaism. And it goes on and on and on. The Buddhists, the Hindus, the Taoists. Modern day spiritual teachers. Ramana Maharshi. Ram Dass. Alan Watts. Rupert Spira. Scientists and physicists, Donald Hoffman, Bernardo Castro. I could just go on and on. Incredible people. Dr. Ian McGilchrist. Incredible people who've got such wisdom that they could bring to the table and say, this whole situation in Gaza, we don't need to do any of this stuff. So we're living in this amazing duality where we've got freedom and love. In my view, the love is far more aligned with mystical and spiritual teachers, the Eastern philosophy, which has its roots in India. And the freedom is aligned with materialism and has its roots in probably in the UK, in the Industrial Revolution, really. But today it's epitomized, it's identified by the US. And there's the middle part. And the middle part where we can see the beauty of both and the real importance that if you just have one without the other, if you don't have the wisdom, the intuition, the knowing, the presence, if you don't have that, the materialism, it's like giving a machine gun to a 5-year-old. And if you have all the wisdom, and we meditate and we sit under a tree and we transcend and we say it's all Maya, then we don't experience living. We cut ourselves off. But also, in a world full of experience, our wisdom does not get tapped into because its relevance isn't seen. Because people think, well, these people are just sitting here. They say it doesn't matter. And so as part of the game, the incredible spiritual people of the world need to come out and express themselves and have a relationship with the stuff that's going on. All the great spiritual teachers who are alive today in the world should be coming together to say, this is what we think about what's happening with the wars in the world and how it's affecting our collective consciousness and what we could do to transcend all of this stuff. Game or no game. And if it's all unfolding, perhaps that is part of the unfolding. That's what infinite intelligence wants. It wants spiritual people to unfold. And, it's just as easy to say it could be ego that stops us from unfolding, because ego and fear of actually putting ourselves out there. And, you look at the example of Jesus and you think, okay, here's a spiritual teacher who was just going, okay, let's just unfold. Let me just explain to the world the beauty within me and how I can express it and how everybody love your neighbor and love your enemy. And what happened to him? An example was made of him. Because somebody else sabotaged his message and wanted to use that for their own freedom, but to imprison others in fear. That's really what happened there. So, coming together is the answer. It is not about tribalism. And I've mentioned this before. Tribalism is dead in our modern world because the world has become so small because of communication, technology, education. We're all so interconnected. If a child gets murdered in a small village 1,000 miles from you, and somebody uploads that video on the internet to show the inhumanity of people, you can feel that pain, just like you'd feel the pain if you saw that child in your street being attacked or killed. We can't, in our modern society, we can't act as if it's just my tribe, they're over there, I don't know what's happening with them, so I won't get involved. You can't do it. Unless you want to dismantle the internet and take down all of the technological advances that the internet in communication, the internet has given us. And the internet is just like the printing press being invented. People go on, oh, the world is going through this awakening. It's the internet. The internet, which was originally came out of, a technological freedom-based process. Freedom for people to express, freedom for people to trade, freedom for people to communicate. That internet is giving us the ability to be much more of a family, to see and understand what's going on, and to connect globally as one. And you see this with Gaza and the reactions of people, and the expression of love from their hearts. So we can't act as tribes. I mean, it's very interesting. The whole racism debate I've never understood it. I've never understood. When I go to a really hot country, it takes me about 2 months to a month and a half to acclimatise, and I get all burned from the sun. Why? Because my skin is white. I'm not used to living in a hot country. I'm used to living in a cold country. I'm made for colder countries. Person with dark skin, they are made for a hot country, so they live in a hot country. They're made, I should say, they're a variant. They become an evolutionary process takes place where they adapt to the environment. How on earth could anybody think that the difference in either gender, colour, or race of anybody made any difference apart from the fact that it just is a variant that allows us to adapt to different climates? Because that's what we're good at doing, adapting to climates. What's the big difference between human beings that you could have a racial argument over? Blood type. Because if I wanted to get a transplant of somebody's heart or a blood transfusion, I need to have the right blood type. Have you ever seen a group of people in the world who have a tribe called the group O or whatever it might be, A? No, but that would make a lot more sense. In fact, the rest of it makes no sense. So education and technology and information have given us these wonderful gifts to alert us to the fact that we're all one tribe, that we're all brothers and sisters, that these crazy notions about tribe and discrimination and racism, that they don't apply to our world at all in the modern world. And that we have to genuinely transcend them. And the warnings are there all the time. Transcend or die. Because there's too much at stake. If we're acting in a tribal way and we cannot understand these basic truths, then we destroy ourselves. Then we end up with a massive war. That's a regional war that turns into a big third world war or whatever. And we're gone. And I think what is going on today with Ukraine, Russia, Gaza, Israel is doing something quite amazing. These tragedies, if you want to get something out of a tragedy, which is not a nice thing, but if you want to salvage something, it's really, really giving us stories which on the surface don't make sense, where people are thinking, what's going on here? But they make total sense. People not understanding that we're all one family. People not understanding that we're all brothers and sisters. People not understanding what love really is. People not understanding the gifts we've been given in the materialistic side of the world. to give us freedoms, to give us more freedoms. But give us freedoms to love. Give us freedoms to give more and more people the opportunity to be love. That's what's really happening here. And we can go down the road of just living in denial and saying, no, 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 the Israelis are evil. The Palestinians are evil. Putin is evil. Biden is Trump. And what will happen is we will keep suffering. Because anger, frustration, hatred, dogma can never get us out of this cycle. In fact, the more you demonize another, the more you don't look at them as if you're in their shoes, the more you're unable to become more aware of an understanding of why they are where they are. The more you can act out of compassion to stop things, to stop the killing, and rather than aggression and hatred, the more you start to transcend. And then we all become more self-aware. We become self-aware of all of the bugs we've got, the software bugs we've got in ourselves, our tribal natures, our desire for it to be attached, our need to be in a group, our triggers that make us full of the red mist of anger, jealousy, hatred, our egos, personas we create to try and protect ourselves from pain and from trauma, generational trauma. Our desire, our pleasures, we need to have some sort of pleasure to kill this anxiety, to kill this pain. And then our spiritual narcissism. Well, this world's a terrible place. It's all crazy. I'm out of here. I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to just sit here. And all this wisdom I have, I'm not going to really use it to try and help others. And, I really, really believe the answers are so simple. The answers to our problems in the world are incredibly simple. It's just that we can't see it. We can't see it when we're caught in ego. We can't see it when we don't understand the dynamics of what are going on. The beautiful people out there all campaigning with anger, protesting, they're just becoming the very thing they don't want. And like I've said in many other videos, we can completely transform our situation. Simply by not voting for the people we know are no longer appropriate to represent us in our democracy. That's it. Don't judge them. You go to a car garage and you see a car and you think, I don't like the colour of that car. You just walk away. You go to another garage. Could be frivolous. Hasn't got the right size cup holders. I think the headlights are a bit too small. You just go somewhere else. You don't care whether the sales guy is going to be offended. You don't treat him with disrespect. You just say, thank you very much. Very interesting. Thanks for letting us have a look at your car. I've test driven it. I'm off somewhere else. You don't continue to spend your time in that garage going, oh, well, why are the headlights so small? Is it because the sales guy has done something to offend me? Let's set up a group who's going to be for small headlights and for big headlights. Let's have a war. Let's turn it all into a war of some sort. You don't do that. We can just look at our politicians with compassion and love and respect and say, thank you. Thank you for everything you've done. If I was in your position, would I have done differently? I don't know. Probably not. I couldn't say I couldn't. I'm not going to moralize about you, but I've decided that this is the person I would like to be my leader from now on. And I'm just going to go to a little booth and just tick a little mark in a box. And that's it. And yeah, it'll take 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. It'll take a few years. But within sort of probably 5 to 10 years, a transformation has occurred. And no, not everything will be rosy. But that transformation will start to change the kinds of people that are within that system. And that change will start to reflect the new ways we communicate and the new ways we engage with each other in the world. So that when some children are starving on a street in a country 1,000 miles away, their clothes are torn, they're bleeding, it's raining, they haven't eaten for weeks, those children will get support and help. If they don't get it from their own government, if they don't get it from their own community, we will get it to them. We will get them aid. We will have an international process that calls out that country. Because we will finally understand that they're our brothers and sisters. And when we can see in ourselves the bad, the dark, as well as the light, when we can admit to ourselves, yes, I could be that guy. I could have been that German in the days of the Nazis who tortured people. I could have been him or her. Once we can see what we could have been, and we can be, we can then start to observe and transcend it all. And go, I see the dark side in myself. I'm not going to judge these other people. I can see the dark, and I understand what's happening. I can see what's going on. We must stop this. Then freedom and love can come together, and we can have a beautiful experience in our world. Most of the time, because this game will always throw something at you. The minute we solve all the wars and everything's peaceful, there'll be a meteorite coming for the Earth, and we'll have to do something. We'll have to create some defense, or we'll learn from a great tragedy, or we'll all get wiped out and new creatures will come along and they'll have completely different experience to us, and it'll all be part of the creative process of the Earth. But we can transcend to a place where we don't have to add to the game as players. We can play the game the best of our abilities. Move on to the next level. We don't have to take the tools of that game and turn them on ourselves and destroy ourselves. And I don't think that's what's meant to be happening. I think what's meant to be happening is we take that game and we do a great job of playing it. And it takes us to the next level. And what is the next level? Who knows? But that next level, you can see already, AI, artificial intelligence. What's that going to do to the world? How can we use that tool? Can we use that tool to completely rip each other off, to destroy all notions of truth, to create an AI God that rules everything, to remove all decision making of any kind that human beings make, and give it to a computer, to wipe out all the meaning when it comes to jobs and experience and everything else, and just have robots around out of place working for us so we sit at home all day do nothing? Or can we use that AI, which is like this incredible tool, to advance ourselves, make ourselves more peaceful, make ourselves more wise, make ourselves more knowledgeable, make the world a more creative place? Stop all the need for hunger and starvation. Whenever there is a natural climatic event and something happens, we have people that can move in and help others in those tragic situations. Where there are wars, that we can separate those in the wars with compassion and love and understanding, to stop them when they are having the red mist of hatred and anger for each other, to stop them from doing things that they will regret or will bring more harm to themselves. Anyway, I've ranted enough. The last bit of this, and I've really mentioned earlier on, is it is so simple. It's incredibly simple. And in the comments section, tell me why it isn't simple. Tell me why it isn't simple to stop all of the killing that's going on in both those wars at the moment. Truly. The war between Ukraine and Russia is about membership of NATO. That's what it's about. Most people don't even know what NATO is. Hundreds of thousands of people are dying because leaders in countries will not talk to each other, are caught up in a whole load of egotistical madness, and special interests and greed and selfishness and deception. How easy is it to stop and look at that and go, the whole thing could stop tomorrow. That whole war, they could all just stop tomorrow. If we, the public, if we, the voters, said, no, enough is enough here. Every single employee in a defence company in the UK who knows that weapons are going to these countries should just get up and walk out of their job. Every one of them. Leave those companies empty. And I know what you'll say, oh, but if I did that, I'd have to lose my mortgage. I've got a mortgage to pay. Sure. But we all have to do it, you see. That's the thing. We all do it. Then it stops. And then as companies start doing stuff that's useful, that's focused around peacekeeping. If you're going to design a big bomb to kill thousands of people, why not design a big bomb that can be shot at the meteor that's going to hit the Earth? Because they've worked out from our amazing technology that there are all these stones around the Earth that are coming in their various speeds, and at one stage, just like when the dinosaurs were wiped out, it's going to come and hit us. You can turn all of these technologies into the use of these things for good, not for bad. And why not use your weapons as a last resort to protect innocent people and say, you must stop killing these people. You must stop it, or we will have to take action against you. And then we have to use these weapons that we don't want to use. Everything we do, every weapon, every technology we have can be used for the good of humanity. So, it's really easy. One of the hardest things to get around is that it's not easy to convince somebody it's easy. When somebody is driving a car, a Ferrari in reverse, and they've been doing it for years, and a 5-year-old comes up and says, I've looked at the manual for this Ferrari, and actually you should be sitting the other way, and you put the gear lever this way, and you'll be able to go several times faster, you'll be able to look around, and it's the way the car's supposed to work. The hard part is convincing the person that what they've been doing is slightly silly, and that they haven't been having the experience they were meant to have with that car. But the answer is easy. You can either just say, okay, I've been so silly here. This 5-year-old knows what they're talking about. Thank you so much. Or you can push the 5-year-old away and say, no, it's really complicated. The reason why this car isn't going so fast has nothing to do with that. And we'll have a committee and we'll get a whole pile of people together to discuss it. And we'll have warring factions about which way it should be, which way the car should drive and how the gears are going to work. We'll disassemble the car. You can do all this stuff. But at the end of the day, The truth is, the 5-year-old's correct. Because the 5-year-old can see something they cannot see. But the 5-year-old puts him or herself into danger by making other people look stupid. And for those people to accept their stupidity and be humble about it and go, we've been stupid here, let's change. And the change is just like that. And we have already got incredible examples all around the world of how changes have been made. Look at South Africa, apartheid. Look at Northern Ireland today, with religious groups that killed and murdered each other for generations, working together with a new parliament. 2 women running the country, one from the Protestant background, one from the Catholic background. What must they be thinking when they look at what's going on in Palestine, in Gaza? Why aren't we getting these people out and saying, tell us, give us some of the wisdom of how you managed to configure a society that could allow people from different religious backgrounds who wanted to murder and kill each other to live together in peace. Tell us what you did and we'll just try to do the same thing in Gaza. And Ukraine. It's not that different in Ukraine. So it's so easy. And the most easy thing to do on a personal level is to make sure you vote, but to only vote for people who you know have got basic humanity or are willing to act from a place of basic humanity. It won't matter how good they are at speaking or whether they know the rules of the parliament or not. They'll learn all that stuff. If they at their core are decent humanitarians who believe and understand what a people's democracy is about and want to configure a system that gives them the ability to represent the people that elected them, it'll all change within a very short period. And we will live in the most incredible new people's democracy. Easy. So thank you for listening to me and my latest rant. And I hope to stick another one on soon. Till then, take care.